I have been thinking lately that I essentially only need to save for a house and retirement. I'm not married and don't have kids. Once I buy a house, I really only need to put money away for retirement. It seems like a simple life. Story 1. I am definitely fortunate to have what I have, but it is challenging to work so much and take care of a 3-bedroom trailer. I sometimes feel overwhelmed. Story 2. I kind of answered a similar question. I'm self-employed and have no children. I haven't set an alarm to wake up to in over a decade. To add to that answer, I'm only a few years away from paying off my mortgage on a 4-bedroom house 2 roads from the beach, and I plan to retire by the time I'm 50. Life is very easy and not boring. I have no routine. I just live each day however I want. I'm thinking of living on a boat for a while and being a bit of a nomad while renting the house out. I'm pretty sure old age can be lonely unless I meet my perfect partner, but I'm not certain we are meant to live that long anyway. I'm happy living a risky life and I'm not too bothered about a long life. Part of my job involves delivering furniture to elderly people's homes, and I hear those cries of sadness and pain in my soul. Story 3. Life is so easy, relaxed, and chill. I work a job and then do whatever I want with the rest of my time. Story 4. It's quite good, to be honest. It can be a bit boring, but it is what it is. I'm about to buy a house, which is exciting, and work is going well. I am not interested in relationships or having children, so if everything goes according to plan, I could possibly retire relatively young. Story 5. Men who are not married and have no children. How easy is life? I do not know if it is easier for everyone. I think it mainly depends on income. However, I believe it is more sustainable to live your own life on your own terms without making compromises for others. Your obligations are those you choose, not ones you are burdened with. Your liabilities and debts are reduced because you only need to account for yourself. Financially, it is easier to spend only on what you need and work to further your own goals. It is simpler to limit lifestyle inflation without a spouse and children since all decisions are yours and they only affect you. As a result, retirement can be much easier to achieve and it can be less challenging to save because you spend less. I do not know if it is easier for everyone, but it is significantly less stressful, and I would not trade that for alternatives. Story 6. It's a lot less complicated than it would be if I had children, that's for sure. I don't know that it's really easier. I probably wouldn't be where I am professionally. It took a lot of risks to get here, some of which I might not have taken if I had others to be responsible for. I likely would have landed in much more mundane, less profitable work. It's a shame, really, heading toward 50. I'm finally in the personal and financial position to take on raising a child. It feels a bit late to be starting that kind of thing now, even if my partner were interested. Story 7. Heaven has its own constraints, such as coming home to an empty house and doing everything by myself. Story 8. It can be very unfulfilling, at least for me. It isn't easy to come home with no one to talk to. My friends have their own lives after work, and when I try to engage in community activities, it never really improves my life. It just distracts me. I end up spending money on entertainment that I don't need to avoid how depressing it feels. I got a dog, which helps a lot, but there are still few opportunities for conversations. An easy life can also be an uneventful one. If that's what you want, so be it. However, I wish I had a partner and children. Someone to understand me and appreciate my presence. Someone to smile at me in the morning when I make breakfast. Someone who truly knows me. But I may never have that, even when I actively look for companionship. So yes, you can create an easy life for yourself while avoiding everyone else, but I find that unfulfilling. Story 9. Expenses can be overwhelming. I have to care for a parent. My car broke down today, but thankfully I was home. Now I am out of work until it is repaired. Getting a ride to medical appointments can be challenging, even when you can drive. Feels like a no-win situation, to be honest. Story 10. I am 39 years old, divorced, and have no children. As I get older, time seems to fly by faster. I feel like I lack a real purpose in life and have missed out on the family experience. Dating has become challenging, and there are not many single women without children who want to date a 39-year-old man. I am also not particularly interested in single mothers. My previous experiences have usually resulted in more problems than rewards. On the positive side, I have my freedom and financial independence, but I'm unsure how to make the most of my time. I lack motivation to pursue large financial goals or ambitious plans. Story 11. Not where I expected to be before my partner died unexpectedly at 37, but my life is all right. I own a house, have several pets, and enjoy hobbies that keep me busy and engaged. I also have a lot of friends and family around. I texted my high school friend group today to see if anyone wanted to hang out next weekend and immediately received 6 responses, which feels great. Story 12. Not much easier. Bills have to be paid, work is frustrating, and life becomes monotonous. The only difference is that you are miserable alone instead of being miserable with someone. Story 13. I don't have responsibilities outside of providing for myself, and I can buy what I want without worrying about saving too much. I have 2 dogs, but compared to children, they cost very little to care for. Life is quite relaxing. On my days off, I mostly do whatever I choose. I'm not under any time pressure in my career because I can dedicate all my time to work without it affecting other aspects of my life. Story 14. I am 34 going on 35. I am surviving, but my life at the moment feels pretty empty, and I wish I had children. Story 15. Honestly, it's really easy. I make great money, have multiple income sources, and plenty of time to stay fit and do what I want. I am by far the happiest and in the best shape of all my friends. Additionally, I have no budget restrictions for leisure activities. On the flip side, holidays can be a bit lonely sometimes. If I have a rough day or get sick, I handle it on my own. But I don't think I would trade it. Most people I know who are married with children are tired, unhappy, out of shape, and financially struggling. Interestingly, the next most content and happy person in our friend group is divorced. Story 16. Being a single man without children comes with both benefits and challenges. On the positive side, there's plenty of freedom and flexibility to pursue personal goals, hobbies, and career ambitions without the added responsibilities of a family. Financially, managing expenses is often simpler, and there is more room for spontaneous decisions and travel. However, it can sometimes feel lonely without a close family unit, and there might be societal pressure to settle down. Ultimately, how easy life is in this situation depends on individual circumstances and personal priorities. How has your experience been? Story 17. It's a life of tranquility with its drawbacks. There's no drama, just peace and quiet. My dog and cat are calm. The dog misses me and gets excited when I return home. I can prepare any food I desire, the house is clean and organized, and I can spend my weekends relaxing, playing games, watching movies, or doing a few chores. The major downside is having no one to help in an emergency. If I'm sick or need to go to the hospital, I have to figure it out alone. Getting older and weaker will be challenging. And what will happen to all my belongings in the end? There is a cost to not having children. It's a life with less personal growth, meaning, and love. I did try to have children twice with each ex-wife, but working around radar aircraft in the military affected my ability to reproduce. That said, a peaceful life is a nice consolation prize for now. Hopefully, I'll pass away in my sleep and avoid a long, drawn-out decline. Story 18. Finding the right partner is key. I did not consider marrying when I was 22 or 24 because I wanted to see the world, travel to unique places, enjoy drinks, and eat heartily. I made up my mind last month to get married at the age of 31. I am seeking someone who shares my values. I am trying to understand what the prospective partner has done in the last 5 years. If she had similar experiences, I consider it a good match. I received a call for a date this coming weekend, and I am excited. Story 19. This is my uncle. He is not married and has no kids. When I was younger, he had a simple life, but now that he is older, he feels lonely and depressed. When he gets sick, there is no one to take care of him or for him to lean on. Though it is simple, it is a life of isolation, at least the way he went about it. Story 20. It is not easy for me. Everything is so expensive. You must have a good income to live comfortably. Story 21. I'm not going to lie, when I was single, it was worse. I was always low on cash. Now that I'm married, I have no issues saving. I have 3 kids and I just bought a house I'm about to pay off. My wife is a stay-at-home mom. Although I am on paid parental leave from May 13th to August 21st, my baby is 1 month old. I am very fortunate and happy to be able to live stress-free. Story 22. Lonely, but I'm not slaving away for a corporate life, at least. I'm doing what I want without caring about money. Story 23. I feel overwhelmed by loneliness and worthlessness. Since I was 14, I have had a strong paternal instinct that remains mostly unfulfilled. I feel fundamentally empty without a family, and I have no family. Life is neither easy nor hard without children. It simply is. Story 24. I guess the question is, to what end? Do you want an easy, solitary, lonely life? I'm in my late 30s and married, and while it has its challenges, I wouldn't trade it for any of my single friends now. They aren't happy, regardless of income, attractiveness, or excitement. If you treat life like a video game where you always restart, I promise you are missing out on a lot of experiences. If you are scared of being hurt or anxious about the what-ifs, sometimes you just have to step up and go for the uncomfortable. This doesn't mean you need to seek a wife, but don't let your fear of being hurt prevent you from living your life. Story 25. I am single and do not have children. I own and operate the farm where I grew up. I am a couple of years away from quitting my job in town because I will have my $3 million equipment loan paid off by then, allowing me to take a larger personal share of the farm's profits. I will only need to work about 10 weeks a year. I will likely spend most of my summers at the lake, sipping whiskey and fishing for walleye. I might even buy a cabin by the lake and a newer boat. Story 26. Sure, it's simple to a certain extent. However, it's not easy to afford a home on one income. It's also a double-edged sword. There is plenty of freedom, but freedom can lead to boredom. Boredom can result in unhealthy habits. I have been living too comfortably without much discipline. I go to work every day, but that's about it. Story 27. Being unmarried and without children definitely has its advantages in terms of flexibility and freedom. I can focus more on personal goals, hobbies, and my career without the responsibilities of family life. However, the ease of life also depends on individual circumstances and priorities. While there is less financial strain and more spontaneity, there may be times when I miss having a family structure. Overall, it is about finding balance and making the most of the opportunities life presents. Story 28. It is unfulfilling. It lacks purpose or meaning. I go to work every day, but I'm not earning much, so I cannot afford a house. I am not interested in hearing about hobbies and gym activities. They are merely ways to pass the time after work as I wait for life to change. Story 29. It is shockingly more difficult if there is no additional income within the household. Ultimately, it is still far happier, though. Story 30. Very simple. I have been debt-free for 15 years and divorced for 20. Life is good. I do whatever I want, whenever I want. Story 31. At the last minute, I decided to take a week to explore the geology in my state. I will free camp and sleep under the stars. Life is good. Story 32. Married but no kids. Hard to beat that double income, no kids life. My wife has a couple of single female friends in their mid to late 40s, and they struggle on a single income. They both have decent jobs, but where I live, the average price of a family home is just under $1 million. A 2-bedroom condominium costs between $450,000 and $600,000 for a decent building. A 30-year-old mobile home costs over $250,000. We should be able to comfortably retire by age 55. My wife might work longer as she has a stable government job, and the longer she works, the larger the pension will be. I was mostly single until I was 40 and enjoyed it quite a bit. Money was much tighter, though. No yearly vacations to Mexico in the winter or nice cars like we have now. Story 33. Not married, no children. It's not easy and not my preference. I own a 2,300 square foot home and live alone. It's a lot to manage. Maintenance, cooking, home improvement, and such, but I get it done. It's a source of pride, even if I'm the only one who knows how challenging it is. I built a home gym and I work out and run frequently. I struggle with taking time to have fun, but that's mostly self-imposed. I find that working hard keeps me from feeling down. I simply can't afford to get depressed, so I just keep working, whether it's related to my job, home, or personal fitness. Some would say this is a boring life, and they might be right. Story 34. I inherited the old family home, which is fully paid off. I have no spouse, no children, no ex-spouse, no alimony, no child support, no monthly rent, and no mortgage. Life is good. Story 35. It is not easy. It has its own set of challenges. It is simply different from how it would otherwise be. Story 36. I only partially count since I have my daughter half the time, but life is easy at this point. There is no child support either. Story 37. Pretty stress-free, judging by what my friends tell me. All my money is mine. I can do what I like when I want to. My house is mine. I'm not completely single. I just avoid long-term relationships for now. Story 38. I just bought my first home, and the peace I have is something I wouldn't trade for anything else in this world. Story 39. It is amazing. I do not understand why people have children anymore unless they are very well off. It seems like a quick path to serious health problems due to lack of sleep and the stress, both financially and emotionally. I have so much free time to do what I want. I can take naps and sleep 8 hours a night. I have plenty of disposable income. I do not regret this path at all. Story 40. I make enough so that my mortgage on a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom house and my utilities are 30% of my take-home pay. I invest in my retirement account and contribute to a Roth IRA, putting about $100 extra toward the mortgage sometimes. Then I just save. I have friends here and there. On my days off, I wake up and ask my group of friends if anyone wants to play some games, go to the gym, or get some food. I eat steaks a lot. Lately, I have been working a lot of overtime due to staff shortages. I have saved up a lot and plan to travel more. As long as I have an emergency fund and keep contributing to savings and investments, I don't worry much about anything. Story 41. 35 minutes here. The hardest part about life right now is deciding which city attraction or country to visit next. I took a year off from work to travel through Latin America. My beer is nearly empty. Should I get another one? It's a no-brainer. Story 42. I am a little past middle age and divorced after a long marriage, with no children. Life is amazing. I have a lot of hobbies in addition to a job that is enjoyable if tiring. The biggest benefit is the lack of stress. Nobody is upset with me, and I can spend my money however I wish. In my experience with many women, it is hard to find one who would accept you and your habits even if you accept hers. I enjoy spending my time doing fun things with my friends or alone, without worrying about someone being upset that I missed a chore or something similar. Story 43. 48. Divorced for 8 years, no kids. Life is pretty great. I won't say it is necessarily easy, but I am certainly not burdened. Story 44. The benefit of having someone is that they can call for help when you cannot, or provide support rather than relying on a nursing home. Story 45. If you have a good job, instead of cutting corners, you should use a portion of that money to enhance your life, such as for entertainment, dining out, and social activities. Story 46. It's easier in many ways since I have more time in my life than the parents I know and work with. My biggest advantage is that after I finish work, I am free. I can literally do nothing. People who care for children do not have this option. Work is a priority, but so is childcare. My respect for parents is high these days. Story 47. My ex moved out last year, and it has definitely been tough financially, but I am enjoying my solitude. I am at the point where I am ready to meet someone new, but my alone time is very nice. Story 48. Financially, it is easier than most. The work is more challenging, but my supervisor has reassigned some of my responsibilities to someone else who will learn those tasks. Story 49. My life still has its challenges. I don't just sit back and relax. I start work around 8:15 and leave around 5:30. I then work out every day, return home around 8, and prepare dinner. I only have about 2 to 3 hours of quality time to decompress. I couldn't imagine adding children to this equation, and I'm not the type of person to simply make it work. Story 50. Compared to some of my siblings who have children and are or have been married, my life is excellent. I graduated from college 10 years ago and bought my own house 5 years ago. I just turned 50, and life is peaceful. I live alone with a cat and couldn't be happier. Story 51. You have more time for yourself. I see people with children and in marriage, and I save myself from a lot of heartache. I have much to be grateful for to God. Story 52. I only have to worry about myself. All my money is mine. If I don't feel like doing anything, I simply don't. If I want to go out of town unannounced, I can. When I come home, there are no arguments. It's just silence and peace. If I go out, I stay out as long as I want, with no one asking where I am or when I will be back home. Story 53. I have a lot of money and free time, allowing me to do whatever I want whenever I want and buy whatever I desire. I do go on many dates, but sometimes I feel that this lifestyle has changed me to the point where I no longer want to get married, as I am so accustomed to doing what I like without having to cater to someone else. Story 54. It's not easy, but I don't think I would be able to handle that level of responsibility. In reality, if I can keep paying my bills and saving, in a few years I will be in a solid position. Honestly, I might be able to retire early, aiming to retire around age 55. I would like to reduce that timeline by a few years. Story 55. It states that men who are not married and do not have children can still be partnered. A life filled with love and friendship is essential for it to be meaningful. Whether life is easier or not depends on the perspective being considered, and it can vary across different domains, individuals, and countries. Story 56. Depending on your lifestyle and spending habits, your situation will differ from other single individuals without children or a spouse. The original poster mentioned housing and retirement as two key factors. Let's explore how these may impact you. When it comes to buying a house, what type are you considering and where? How much are you willing to spend? For example, consider an individual who is 30 years old, earning $3,000 monthly but has $1,000 in monthly savings after expenses. Assuming a savings increase of 10% per year, by the age of 35, they could have approximately $93,000 saved. This amount would allow them to afford around $400,000 with a 25-year housing loan, as their gross monthly salary would increase to roughly $4,800. How does this scenario sound? Regarding retirement, at what age do you plan to retire? What will your lifestyle be at that time? Will you need a caregiver, hospice, or home services? How much do you intend to save before reaching retirement age? For instance, if that same individual retires at age 71 after working for 40 years, they should ideally have savings of around $540,000, excluding all housing-related expenses such as purchase costs, interest, renovations, and maintenance, provided all assumptions hold true and there are no additional expenses such as holidays, pets, or childcare. How does this sound? I share similar thoughts with the original poster and am looking to exchange ideas and learn from others as well. Story 57. It is easy for me at 41. I own a business that provides me with a good amount of freedom. I take my dog to the beach most days, even on weekdays. I just bought a boat and installed a great home theater. I will be getting a swim spa soon. I really can't complain. Story 58. Well, the answer should be obvious, but I think you know that. The single life with no kids is easy, except for those who don't want to work. A house is not for impressing your neighbors or friends. It's simply a roof over your head. Get a simple fixer-upper and do what you need to do. Same with the vehicle. Life is not a popularity contest, though some women seem to think so. That said, buying a simple fixer-upper house allowed me to build my dream garage. I designed and built it with my own hands and a couple of friends to help with the heavy lifting. I'm a garage guy, so that's important. When you're single, you can do whatever is important to you. I have a normal 40-hour work week, but after hours belong to me, as do weekends. I have plenty of hobbies without anyone telling me not to pursue them. Compromises? No, none of that in my life. I almost feel sorry for men who get lonely, but in reality, they need to grow some courage. Story 59. Married for more than a decade with 2 children and planning for more. Life is tough. I have to work hard and ensure that money never stops. I constantly manage the feelings of everyone, including my aging parents, and I have very limited time for anything, which means I have to make hard choices from time to time. I have friends who are single, married without children, married with children, and divorced, so I can see life from different perspectives. Life choices are all about pros and cons and compromises. Oftentimes, it is not your choice, such as when you cannot find a good partner, physically cannot have children, or face financial issues. Many of us have difficult parents who shaped our worldviews or vowed not to be like them. For me, the challenges in life and finances, the different phases and social milestones, and the experience of having children call me dad, and having a supportive spouse are all 100% worth it. If I lived only for myself, I would become lazy and gluttonous, consuming all the best movies, games, and series ever made, and potentially harming myself with all the money I have. Life would be pointless but easy. Story 60. It's definitely easier financially. I don't need to find a better paying job, especially one I do not enjoy. Mentally, there is less stress as I am not raising another human being. I am also not mentally prepared to raise children without help in more ways than one. I am just not ready for kids until I get my head right with that. I don't want to be irresponsible mentally and financially. I do have a girlfriend, but it will be a long time before I consider marriage, and we aren't at that point yet. Never mind the topic of kids. Story 61. We are double income, no kids, so it is easy and relaxing. I take 3 weeks off each year to go on vacation, camp and hike in new places, and enjoy my hobbies without hassle. Story 62. It's easy to think, I wish I could get away from my wife and kids. But when I actually do, like when I'm in a new city for work, I find everything is less exciting because I can't share it with them, and I miss them. I believe it's important to establish a healthy relationship where you have space for yourself while also being present for the significant moments. The optimal balance of being a partner and father far surpasses the single life for me. However, there are times when everything feels overwhelming. That's life. Without healthy lows, you don't experience highs. A uniform life in the middle sounds dull. Story 63. It's fine. I get bored being the only one on holiday without a family of my own. It's cheaper, definitely cheaper than worrying about someone else's expenses, but then again, there is only one income as well. Story 64. I think life is easier when you find someone with similar goals. A dual income is better than a single income. You can save together, and you also get to enjoy intimacy whenever you want. It's a win-win situation. The key is finding a good partner, though. Story 65. I was married once and divorced with no children. As the only child in the family without attachments, it was my responsibility to care for my parents when they fell ill towards the end of their lives. This also meant I inherited a significant amount when they passed away. I am living comfortably now. I have few friends and am not seeking love, as I have been disappointed in the past. This helps to mitigate feelings of loneliness. I now spend my time on work and hobbies, moving toward retirement. Story 66. For me, it's pretty smooth sailing. It's easy for me to save a significant amount of money and invest a lot of it as well. I can travel anywhere at any time whenever I feel like it. I don't have to constantly worry about losing my belongings just because someone makes impulsive decisions. But I'm not going to lie to you. I do get a little lonely sometimes. It is what it is. Story 67. I'm divorced, 46, and I have no kids or pets anymore. It's extremely easy but feels very empty. At my age, women are often interested, sometimes more than I would like. Once my wife left, I found I had more money than I knew what to do with. However, I would prefer to have kids. Story 68. I'm 45, single with no kids, and it doesn't bother me at all. I enjoy having an occasional friend with benefits, but when I get home from work, I look forward to the peace and quiet. Story 69. In today's society, with corrupt divorce courts attempting to take half or more of what the husband earns alongside feminist viewpoints, it may be better to avoid the traditional aspects of marriage and family. While there are benefits to being single, such as reduced financial burdens, it often comes with more housework and cooking. However, living alone can lead to easier management of bills, as there is only one vehicle, less food consumption, and lower electricity costs. Essentially, this situation can be summarized as more housework and meal preparation, but with a greater potential for savings, increased free time, more privacy, and significantly less stress or family drama, including issues with in-laws and holiday planning, unless you prefer the added stress of bills, headaches, and drama, which are often not worth the assistance in cooking and cleaning. Remaining single without a spouse or children may be the better choice. Unfortunately, many negative aspects now overshadow the benefits that marriage used to provide. This situation occurs when a culture drifts away from spiritual values. At 50 years old, without a spouse, children, or girlfriend, this has been my observation of friends and society throughout my lifetime. Feminist ideologies, multicultural values, and politicians who have removed prayer from schools have contributed to the decline of the traditional American family that once defined our nation. Without spiritual guidance, no politician will ever truly restore America's greatness. It is a regrettable reality, but one is often better off being single and childless. Story 70. The best decision I ever made allowed me to have my dream job playing professional hockey without the constant family drama my teammates experienced. Now that I'm done playing, I met a wonderful woman who has no interest in having children, and we share our home with several cats. I spend my spare time volunteering at a feral cat rescue. I don't know any man in my life who chose the family route who claims to be fulfilled or happy with his choices. It's just a constant stream of complaints about the challenges of family life and the lack of time for themselves. Story 71. It's so easy and peaceful, man. In a relationship, you need to allocate a considerable amount of time, money, and energy from your resources to take on a responsibility. Ensure you keep everything within your budget. It's not much different from anything else in life. Or don't, and you can continue to grow your resources and enjoy them for yourself. Story 72. I still am not making enough, but I will be perfectly honest. I have spent years sacrificing my happiness for others, only for them to turn on me the minute I was no longer useful. The sacrifices and time wasted on others make it less stressful to be alone. I understand I am nothing but a tool for other people's convenience, and I am not benefiting from making those sacrifices. So, I am okay with being on my own. It is not optimal, but it beats the alternative. I am my own person, and I am happier that way. Story 73. As a man with children who was married, it seems like the only downside is potential loneliness. Overall, you all seem much happier than we are and have more time and money. I definitely made the wrong choices in life. Story 74. I would never want to have children. Life is much easier, and I feel like children would consume all my money, which I don't save much of. I would rather set aside 100 euros, which I do, than give it for my children so they could spend my 100 euros. Life without children is much easier. Additionally, if you divorce, you don't need to provide financial support for the children. I am glad I don't have any children. Story 75. Was life easier? Yes. Was it less fulfilling? Also yes, though I didn't realize that until I had children. You don't just buy a house and that's it. It's typically a constant source of repairs, upgrades, and maintenance. I estimate that in 30 years, I will have spent 50% of the purchase price on those expenses. Story 76. It is expensive. I can do whatever I want all the time, but everything costs more when living independently. There are full rent, utilities, groceries, and travel expenses, along with food preparation and cleaning responsibilities. This leaves less savings for buying a house or retirement, but I have a unionized pension job, so I am not too concerned about that. Is it worth it? I would say yes, and who knows? Maybe I have a child out there. Story 77. I am 44 and married. Not having children has taken things that would be very stressful and made them easier. I have rich hobbies and many friends. After work and weekends are dedicated to activities we enjoy, either together or separately. Instead of spending on daycare and other expenses associated with children, I can invest in other things like getting my dream car and spending on improvements. I can also buy a house and make the changes and upgrades I want. However, things have changed now that my mother is sick, and I need to help her. If I had children in school, that would not be possible. To be honest, I live a very good life, and having children would completely change it. If I had children, I would be fully dedicated to them. That is how I was raised and what I believe should be done. I don't regret my choice at all. Story 78. Life is never easy, but as a 64-year-old man living in Arizona and retired, it is very good. Not having children allowed my wife and me to move out west and enjoy retirement. Story 79. It still costs me about $13,000 a year after paying off the property for taxes, yard, and house maintenance. It will likely be harder with children and a spouse. Story 80. I entered a saved game and enjoyed the experience. I have to say, I can go anywhere with my wife without any concerns. This is wonderful. Story 81. I see many people discussing the financial burden of children, which is true, but they also require a significant amount of your time, especially when they are younger. If you are a good parent, they become your primary focus for the first 17 to 18 years, and you need to be there for them for the rest of your life. Getting married is a life-changing experience, but you have chosen that person and hopefully made a wise decision. Children are also life-changing, and you must lead by example while fully providing for and supporting them. Sure, you love them and there will undoubtedly be many good times. You will make your parents happy and fit in with societal norms, but personally, the stress and added responsibility outweigh the benefits for me. Story 82. I have no extra expenses. I can go anywhere without telling anyone, and I can watch Studio Ghibli movies at the theater during Ghibli Fest with my own money. Besides the occasional lonely night, it's pretty good. Story 83. Every time I'm not paying bills feels like Christmas, as I can freely save or do whatever I want. I have friends who went bald early due to stress, and another who hasn't done anything for himself since 2017. Story 84. Very easy. I love it. Although I am well into my career and bought a place a long time ago when it was more affordable. With recent inflation, it is a bit tougher. That said, the lifestyle really is bliss. It is a choice and you have to be okay with it. Story 85. I chose a more challenging path than most by volunteering for the military. It makes me feel more fulfilled. I am not aware of many long-term happy marriages in the army, so I won't take that risk. However, I do date and it works for me. My paycheck is mine, and I will leave a decent inheritance to whomever I choose. I selected the car I wanted and will build the house I desire. It's nice not to deal with unnecessary complications in my personal life. Story 86. Currently, I am stuck at home with my son for a week as he has hand, foot, and mouth disease. Symptoms appeared the day after my wife went to Okinawa for a diving summer school with my daughter, so they are off having fun in the sun. I am certainly considering how easy life could be. Story 87. I get to spend my evenings doing whatever I want. I can spend hours playing a new video game without anyone nagging me about making sure the kitchen sink is empty. I can pick up hobbies, leave my materials in the living room, and they'll be exactly where I left them when I return. Story 88. For context, I'm a 29-year-old man, recently single after a 5-year relationship, during which I was engaged in the last year. The level of responsibility and foresight involved makes it much easier to be single as a man. Whether people want to admit it or not, men tend to take on more responsibility in relationships. We are often the default providers and protectors, so being responsible for just ourselves is quite easy. Story 89. It feels good. I am currently 28 and do not have to worry or stress about it. To be honest, I might keep it this way for the rest of my life. There is nothing wrong with that, and not everyone is suited to be a parent. Story 90. Great. Let's be real. It's a struggle for most people, including myself, financially. Our economy is challenging, but being focused on my own progress is crucial. I am fully committed to working hard and achieving my goals. Story 91. I wouldn't say it's easy. I filled my time with various activities. some good and some bad. I have friends with children, and the children definitely restrict their freedom. However, it also opens up a whole new world of people and activities for them that they wouldn't be a part of without the children. Story 92. I am 27 years old and have no prospects for marriage at the moment. I have a good job and am currently preparing my life for retirement in my 30s. Retirement looks different for everyone. By the time I am 35, I aim to have no debt so that all my money can go toward traveling and enjoying a relaxed lifestyle while working a contract job with flexible hours. Story 93. I think you need to edit and add a differentiator for the men who chose that lifestyle and those who fell into it, as I believe you will see very different answers. Personally, I chose my lifestyle. I am 40 years old, unmarried, and have no children. I got a vasectomy on my 40th birthday to ensure my child-free status forever. I don't want to boast, but my life is so easy. It's like a cheat code to life. I have a comfortable apartment that meets my needs and allows me to save money because I don't have a partner trying to keep up with societal expectations or wanting a bigger place that we can't really afford. Everything in my apartment is decorated to my liking. More importantly, my life is so peaceful and quiet. There is no one creating unnecessary stress and drama. I am a 40-year-old man with multiple hobbies, and I have time for all of them. Even when life throws challenges my way, I have the energy to meet and overcome them because I don't have the pressure of supporting a family and having to be perfect or play the superhero. Last year, when I was dealing with some personal issues and my mental health was suffering, I was able to get into therapy and take care of myself because I could focus all my energy on my well-being. I didn't have a spouse who would look down on me or feel that I was less of a man because I was struggling. I didn't have to come home and be a father to children who didn't care that I was feeling depleted. I could just focus on myself and getting better. When I decided I was unhappy with my weight and wanted to get in shape, I was able to go to the gym and focus my energy on my goals. I didn't have a partner trying to sabotage my diet due to their insecurities about other women finding me attractive or complaining that I was spending too much time at the gym. I can spend my money however I want without having to double-check or run purchases by a spouse who may complain if it's not something they think we should spend money on. I buy any video game that comes out that I want. I purchased a $1,500 electric scooter earlier this summer because I wanted one. I collect sneakers and am typing this from a 4-monitor ultimate gaming PC setup. I am looking to buy a new car in the next few years and don't have to consider what's sensible or best for a family. So an electric SUV and motorcycle are on my radar. The only real complaint I have is that I wish I could be making more money, but I have a plan to increase my salary to over $100,000 within the next 5 years. I actually have the time to plan my career transition to something I know I will love because I don't have the pressure of needing to find the highest paying job with a family depending on me. I can say all of this because I chose this life, and I'm living the life I envisioned and wanted. Men who didn't choose this life and who wanted to get married and have children but couldn't for various reasons likely have many more complaints about challenges and loneliness than I do. Story 94. I am 31 years old. I have experienced many years of depression and anxiety attacks, but recently, I have started to enjoy doing things on my own. I have changed careers and succeeded in both. I have lived in several major cities, returning to one as I write this. I am grateful and have a bright future. I struggle with being alone and building the social life I desire, but I am resilient and have made great friends. My mental health will always be a challenge, whether single or in a relationship. Story 95. How do you mean? Surviving is easy, but getting what I want is less so. I really only have to save money for retirement. Retirement is overrated. I think the live fast, die young crowd may have been onto something. Story 96. Kids are wonderful. That being said, having a 2-income household with no children is a great setup. There is low overhead and a low cost of living, which results in low stress and high savings. I would recommend it completely. Kids are fantastic, but we chose differently. Story 97. I was married for 28 years and have 5 kids. We divorced, and the kids are upset with me. Now I am single and feel free. If I had to do it all again, I wouldn't. I never wanted to get married, but I thought I met an incredible woman. After 2 years, I was done and wished I had never gotten married. I promised myself I would never do it, yet I did. Now, I'm living an amazing life, doing what I want when I want. I have fantastic friends whom I was never allowed to have. Stay single, man. If you want kids, find someone who will share the responsibility of having them. Story 98. I am 36 years old and on my second house, having sold the first. I am not married and have no kids. It is relatively easy compared to most, but we all have our problems. The grass is always greener, etc. Story 99. Life is pretty simple. My main priority is buying a house. Other than that struggle, what makes my life difficult is finding a partner. I know I have sort of pigeonholed myself. I work long hours to save for a house. As a result, I have no social life. No social life means difficulty meeting people. In the grand scheme of things, life is simple. I only have to worry about myself. I have no responsibilities except for the ones I impose on myself. I have the freedom to do what I want. I choose to work, and my income is mine to use as I please. Story 100. Pros. I can wake up whenever I want and have no obligations to anyone. Cons. I have no one to spend time with. I guess it really depends on the day. Some days it's great to do whatever I want. Other days it would be nice to have someone to share activities with. Story 101. Life is beautiful. The freedom and finances allow me to do the things I enjoy. Don't get me wrong, it can be a struggle sometimes without the security of a family unit. But trust me, if you didn't have a partner and children, life would present its own challenges. Story 102. Married at 38, had my first child at 39, and now at 41, my child has just turned 2. Life was definitely easier and simpler before I got married and had a child. My most annoying day then was easier than my average day now. But life was also limited. I had no idea how much joy and meaning I was missing out on. You trade one thing for another and there's no going back. But I wouldn't change it even if I could. Story 103. For me, it is very easy. I can afford to live alone, and I never wanted to have children, so I am happy. Story 104. Many people only appreciate being single after getting married and having children. They often do not recognize the difference until that point. Story 105. To me, life is very easy. I do not have a wife or kids, and I am self-employed with enough work to choose whether I want a job or not. I have paid off a 7-room apartment. Story 106. I am 30 years old, not married, and I own a detached single-family house. I have enough liquid investments to support myself for over 5 years if necessary. I have never received any financial assistance from my parents and currently work at an average-paying job. I have not had success with risky investments. I prefer a smart and cautious approach. Life is good and easy with few responsibilities. It is important to make smart decisions to improve the quality of your life. Story 107. I am severely depressed, broke, and in a relationship with an expiration date in the near future. My Master of Science in Biology feels completely useless in my search for a proper job. If this is easy, then hard isn't worth living. Story 108. It depends on your support structure, whether that's a spouse, children, parents, friends, or others. Alone, good times can feel easy, but bad times can feel difficult. Maybe one day you experience sudden chest pains and wish you had someone to drive you to the hospital. Perhaps you get laid off, and if you had a working spouse, you wouldn't have to worry as much about finding another job right away. Maybe one day your parents or pet dies, and you would really like to lay your head in your partner's lap and let the tears flow. If you can get this support from your friends, great. But maybe your friends start to seek their own special partners, and you don't get as much time with them as you'd like. No one is strong all the time, and being part of a community can help soften the impact of the worst times. Additionally, some people find more joy in helping others than in helping themselves. So your victories might feel more fulfilling if you have someone close to share them with. Story 109. I think it is great, nice, and easy. I don't have to ask anyone if it is okay for me to go out the door this evening for any reason. If I want to go on a trip, the only arrangement I need to make is to inform my boss that I am taking time off. I like it this way. Story 110. It's not that I couldn't be happier with someone. Sadly, Nobody reciprocates feelings or efforts. Thus, I accept my place in the world and appreciate what I have for my limited time here. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.